you like to spend your Christmas? Celebrating with loved ones? Opening presents? Drinking Santa's butthole? Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, boy.
As a Jewish woman myself, I like to spend the Christmas holiday doing the same thing every year, watching Christmas movies and drinking Santa's butthole. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, did she seriously just say that? And yes, I did. I, as a Jewish woman, like Christmas movies.
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
I know, it's probably the most shocking thing you will hear today, but it's true. I love nothing more than a good Christmas movie. So when I heard that there was a new one coming out about a woman crashing out the same way I do after drinking 5 Santa's buttholes, I felt like it was destiny for me to love it. I mean, it even stars the iconic Michelle Pfeiffer.
Meow.
How could a movie like that be anything less than amazing? Well, pull up your Santa's buttholes, because this movie sucked, and we need to talk about it.
Today's drink of choice is a Santa's butthole from the Tipsy Bartender. 1.5 ounces cherry vodka, 1 ounce peppermint schnapps, 2 ounces milk, 1 ounce chocolate syrup, candy cane garnish. We couldn't think of a better way to celebrate Christmas than a good old Santa's butthole.
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but Santa's butthole tastes great.
Stop it. Get some help.
Oh, What Fun came out earlier this month, starring huge names like the aforementioned Michelle Pfeiffer, Dennis Leary, Chloe Grace Moretz, Jason Schwartzman, and so many more. It's a classic Christmas road trip movie telling the story of Claire, who abandons Christmas with her family to drive all the way from Texas to California during probably one of the biggest crash outs of her life. The title of the film is honestly just the laziest I've seen when it comes to Christmas movies trying to name themselves after famous Christmas carols. And it also feels like false advertisement because this movie was not fun. It was actually infuriating with how bad it was. But what went wrong here? Well, let's get into it. Okay, so if you're gonna make a Christmas comedy, the most important part of that is obviously, being funny. You have these magical little things called jokes that are comprised of a setup and a punchline. This movie understands the first part of that equation, but definitely not the second, because almost none of the setups they have are paid off in any funny way. And that's saying something because they have a lot of setups that could lead to really funny scenarios.
Got her a 1-wick candle. You can't give someone a 1-wick candle who got you a 3-wick candle. It's logic.
Even just look at this opening joke here. Claire sees another mother who is very overwhelmed and asks to speak to the misbehaving children, telling them,
You really should be nicer to her, okay? Because someday she's going to be dead.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
There could have been a myriad of funny lines to say here. I mean, they could have just said what my parents said to me at the holidays. You're nothing but a selfish whore, just like your mother. There's a running bit about Claire being in some sort of unspoken competition with her neighbor across the street, which you think would lead to something big, some sort of final showdown between the two, or maybe a reveal that Jean is somehow just as overwhelmed as Claire and is also having an epic crash out, especially since this movie seems to think all mothers feel like that. But their big punchline to that joke, Jean smokes cigarettes. Yeah, she secretly stress smokes. And that's it. I mean, it's not even weed. It's just normal, boring cigarette smoking. There is one funny joke that almost completely paid off. Claire goes to the store to try and buy Jean an even bigger candle than Jean bought for her.
Look at that. Careful. It's perfect.
which leads to Claire shoplifting said candle and facing down about 100 mall security guards. That's pretty funny. But then Claire just decides not to give Jean the candle after all, and it's never brought up again in the entire movie.
Mom, you cannot give Jean Wang Wasserman stolen goods for Christmas. Damn it.
Which just completely lets down the rest of the joke. This could have been something hilarious, even just a snide remark, or maybe maybe the mall security guards following her home and arresting Jean instead because she now has, said stolen candle. That would have been something, but this movie instead gives us nothing. Claire just realizes she can't give Jean a stolen gift, so she gives her store-bought cookies.
I made it myself.
Really? It looks just like the kind they sell at the store. It seems like you just dumped some out of a metal tin into this bag.
No, I made it from scratch.
The problem here is not just that it's not funny. I mean, it's definitely not funny. But again, that's not the biggest problem here. The problem is that from a character standpoint, this gives Claire nowhere to evolve. And that is a running issue throughout this entire movie. In any movie, or any story that is told, your characters take not just a physical journey, but an emotional one as well. Frodo and Sam's journey in Lord of the Rings, at its base, is just them walking all the way from the Shire to Mordor. But what makes their story impactful is not the direction they go physically, but rather the directions they go emotionally. Frodo, at the start of his journey, is not the same Frodo at the end of his journey, which is why he can't feel at home back in the Shire anymore. And we're all devastated.
You can't leave.
The last pages are for you, Sam.
Claire, on the other hand, is exactly the same stressed out and underappreciated mother at the beginning of the story that she is at the end of it. She doesn't learn any lessons. She doesn't do things differently. She has one crash out that makes her decide to drive to California, but that's it. And to be honest, it's not even that valid of a crash out. Like, yeah, they leave her behind from the dance concert, but I mean, it's not like she didn't have a car or anything to meet them there. And it's also not even something that she herself was wanting to do all that much. I mean, at least I wanted to go to Disneyland when my parents forgot me at home, but they did take my birthday picture there for me. Don't get me wrong, I think that there is an interesting story and also a valid crash out to be had over a mother whose labor at the holidays is unappreciated. Women's labor in the home goes largely unappreciated and underpaid. We have literal statistics to back this phenomena up. Although you probably don't need statistics, you could literally just go and ask your mother herself. And if she's anything like my mother, she'll sit you down and give you a long lecture about how cocaine is the magic secret to a clean house and a happy wife.
What?
Don't do drugs, kids. You wind up with a child like me. Trust me, no one wants that. But with Claire's crash out in this movie, it's not that her work is underappreciated by her kids. It's unwanted. They don't want this Christmas tradition that they've been doing, and Claire guilts them into coming anyways, which, again, would give us a place to go development-wise, but the film frames the whole story like Claire is completely in the right and everyone else is in the wrong. There is kind of this half-assed moment between her and her oldest daughter where Channing confesses that she doesn't feel seen by her mother.
But I have a family and a career I love, and I'm actually doing pretty okay at it. You just brush right over all of it. Like it doesn't even matter.
But this scene has two problems. First, Claire shows no real remorse for this, basically just tell her,
Maybe I'm afraid of if I tell you that if I let the cat out of the bag, then you'll know that you don't need me anymore.
And the second problem is that this interaction rings completely hollow when you think about the fact that Channing, along with the rest of the family, did absolutely nothing to try and find Claire after she went missing. Yeah, so when Claire has her crash out and abandons the whole family, telling absolutely no one where she went, literally none of these people do anything to try and find her. No one checks her location services to see that she's driving halfway across the country. No one checks bank statements to see where she's used her credit card. They literally don't do anything to try and find her. They just accept that she's gone, and that's it. Now, to be fair, they do call the police, and Nick does call her quite a few times, but that's literally just in the first day. Beyond that, they just accept that she is gone and do nothing about it. I mean, even my family found me a Walmart parking lot to sleep in after they kicked me out and made me homeless. I never thought I would say that my family is better than another one, but you know what? It was a good day for them. We finally found a worse family than us. This movie can't really decide whether or not it's Claire or her family that has a lesson to learn. Is Claire supposed to learn to relax, or is her family supposed to learn to appreciate her? Is Claire supposed to learn to see her daughter, or is Channing supposed to learn to not be Claire? All of these issues are brought up and never resolved in a way that actually makes sense. The stronger choice would obviously be that the family is in the wrong, but they never apologize. They just show up and join Claire on the TV show like it's some sort of happy reunion.
Reunited right here on the show. Don't go away. When we're back, we've got the bird and the bee.
And they're not even the ones who planned that either.
They've traveled through the night and we convinced them to come on the show. A group of people I think we can all agree owe you a big, huge apology.
The TV show executives reached out to them and paid for them to come to California. This affluent family in Texas can't fly themselves out to see their missing mother and then don't even apologize to her. They literally don't apologize. At least, I mean, when my family... But after they realized I was still alive, they at least said, "My bad, bro." Now, don't get me wrong. I don't believe that all characters in all movies or TV shows should be perfect people.
Did I get you?
What is wrong with you?
Me? Nothing. You, on the other hand, have a bullet inside you.
So the family being assholes isn't bad. But in order to get the resolution that they clearly wanted, somebody has to learn a lesson in the film. There has to be some sort of growth from somebody, an acknowledgement that they did something wrong. Otherwise, it's just not a story, it's just a random series of events. Which brings me to the biggest problem of this movie. When it comes to plots within a screenplay, there are two different methods of storytelling: narrative-driven stories and character-driven stories. Narrative-driven stories are stories like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, where the plot is driven by outside forces like Sauron or the Wicked Witch of the West and Wizard of Oz. Whereas character-driven stories, however, are stories where the plot is moved forward mainly by the inner desires of our main characters and the choices that they make along their journey. The most common types of character-driven stories are biopics about the lives of real people and the things that happen to them, and then, of course, coming-of-age stories about specific moments or events in a character's life that create an emotional journey for them to go on.
I still have your underwear.
I still have your virginity.
Christmas movies, of course, can be plot-driven. Rise of the Guardians, which is a totally unrelated classic that is... Oh shit. That's not a Christmas movie.
Easter is tomorrow.
That's an Easter movie with Santa Claus.
As much as it pains me to say, old friend, this time Easter is more important than Christmas.
Okay, hold on. Christmas movies, of course, can be plot-driven, like with last year's Red One, which was dumb as rocks and thus thoroughly enjoyable to me.
Okay? You just slapped the shit out of me. Yeah, that was so embarrassing.
Who is also dumb as rocks. But the most common storytellings with Christmas movies is character-driven stories, like, you know, every single Hallmark movie ever. I can't speak. Am I already drunk? Did Santa's butthole already get me drunk? Jeez, Santa, buy lady dinner first. Character-driven stories do have a plot, of course, and even maybe forces of antagonism, but the obstacles for the plot arise from choices that the characters make along the way.
You fucking flooded my drink, Isaac!
I'm gonna come clean. I'm on a lot of cocaine right now. I think that's what made my nose bleed.
You're fucking cocaine?
Did you drink a lot of it?
Kind of.
rather than some villain putting them in the hero's path. One of my all-time favorite Christmas movies, The Night Before, is a perfect example of a character-driven story all about three best friends as they spend their last Christmas Eve together before parting ways. The plotline is simple. Get to the Christmas party they've always wanted to go to, but the obstacles in their path arise from the poor choices they make throughout the night. Isaac risks losing his marriage due to a drug-fueled confession about his fears of being a dad.
I don't know what you do at this point, but get rid of this f***ing baby, put it in a bag, and leave it somewhere. Put it in a basket and push it down the f***ing river. F*** you, baby. F*** you.
Chris takes steroids in order to cheat in his football career and gain fame and adoration.
Okay, fine. I'm on steroids. Now what? Newsflash, everybody's on steroids. You're a cheater.
Ethan risks losing his friends and love interest because he's too afraid of change and growth.
Thanks, I didn't let her go. She left me.
Well, you didn't want to meet her parents, and you never did, and you just kept making excuses for like 2 years.
She made the whole relationship about the one thing I didn't want to do. You
All of the characters have a start to their character arcs, and by the end of the film, those arcs are complete and satisfied with them changing as a result of the journey that they have taken. Isaac learns to accept being a dad despite his fears. Chris admits to cheating and gives up his fame to be a better man. And Ethan accepts change by taking the next step and meeting his girlfriend's parents.
Can I come in?
Here? And this is my parents' house.
I know.
I thought that you didn't do parents.
I'll do your parents.
The events of Oh What Fun, however, for the most part don't happen as a result of the characters' choices, but instead to them, at random. And when they do happen as a result of character choices, they don't affect the plot because they're just dropped and there's no resolution. In the beginning of the film, Claire doesn't get nominated for the Zazzy Moms contest by her children, but she never confronts any of them about it or talks about it after it happens.
The one thing I really wanted for Christmas. And I couldn't even get it for myself.
Claire is at one point forced to spend the night in a hotel room with a complete stranger, an Amazon delivery driver traveling across the country. And you would think that after Claire's car is towed away outside of the hotel that night, that maybe she would go and ask her new friend for a ride, since, you know, she's played by the amazingly talented Danielle Brooks. But no, she's just never brought up again. And instead, Claire is forced to buy a random clunker car in order to complete her road trip. Okay, so maybe this sets up some struggles where the car breaks down or something. But no, she makes it to California just fine, no struggle. She's caught lying about being one of the Zazzy Moms in the contest, which you think would make her face consequences of some sort for which her family could show up and rescue her in order to make up for forgetting her. But no! Zazzy totally gets it and the two smoke weed and relax together. No consequences whatsoever. And it's not much better with the side character arcs either. Taylor spends the entire movie being mean to Doug for no reason, and then when he finally gives her a valid reason by breaking up her engagement, at the end, she just sees him awkwardly dancing and decides to forgive him without him doing anything to try and make up for it. Nick spends most of the movie trying to put together some Barbie doll dream house for the grandchildren, and when it turns into a total disaster, he breaks down about how much he needs Claire, even though she literally had nothing to do with his storyline at all. Like, she didn't even offer to help with the dream house. She didn't offer any solutions. She had nothing to do with that plotline at all. But somehow that makes him realize that he misses her. That makes him realize that he misses her. Not her going missing. Not any of the other Christmas traditions that they've done that have failed. Not the fact that she's not there for Christmas with their grandchildren. But no, a Barbie dream house is what makes him miss her. God, I hate this family almost as much as mine hates me. For a movie that keeps emphasizing that all mothers are under extreme amounts of pressure to be perfect for their families, they really don't like to show that with anybody other than Claire. Channing's children could be cut out of the entire movie without it affecting the plot at all, or her character growth. And Jean, the perfect neighbor that Claire is constantly trying to compete with, seems to be successfully perfect with everything she does, and her children all love her dearly, and sing extra as fuck Christmas carols.
All is calm, all is bright.
which proves to me that they are the worst kinds of theater kids. You know, the kind, my kind. Except, I'm nowhere near as talented as them. Jean doesn't complain about being a mother even once. If you're going to make your movie about that specifically, that all mothers are under severe amounts of pressure and they're all going through the same thing, you have to show that.
I miss my mom so much. And I really wish that instead of rolling my eyes, thinking she was silly, that I just said those 3 little words that mean so much to moms. I love you. Can I help?
Oh, yeah.
You have to reinforce it with the events of the plot. But this movie just doesn't. It does the opposite at almost every turn. But the thing is, they really didn't have to. This could have worked. And it's honestly not that hard to fix. Am I about to sit here and get drunk as I'm bitching about film structure? Yeah, I am. So if you're not interested in that, please don't abandon me like my family did when I was 3. I mean, you can, and if you do, I'll get over it. After crying alone in the garage like I did then. So the biggest problem with this movie comes down to structure. If you've ever heard of the writing book, Save the Cat, or maybe taken a basic screenwriting class, you might have heard of something called a 3-act structure, meaning that your movie can be divided into 3 separate acts: the setup, confrontation, and the resolution. Or in Bimbo terms, a beginning, a middle, and an end. While that is an important part of film structure, it's also a bit of an oversimplification. Or rather, an over-bimboification. So yes, there is a 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end. But within that structure is a series of about 8 or so sequences, each of which presents the characters with a unique challenge that they must overcome in order to further the plot.
Yeah, like that's ever gonna happen.
Act 1 in particular consists of 3 important sequences. The ordinary world, where we're introduced to our main characters and the world that they exist in. The point of attack, where the reason to be on this journey is established. And the lock-in, which is the moment that the characters officially start said journey. The point of attack and ordinary world can happen in any order, honestly, but the first act should always end with the lock-in. But Oh What Fun doesn't follow that structure at all. In fact, the lock-in doesn't even come until halfway through Act 2. The movie is literally all about Claire's crash out and subsequent journey after her family forgets her, but that doesn't even happen until halfway through the movie, which makes it feel like 2 different styles of movie that are just violently smashed together and don't work. The middle of the movie shouldn't be your lock-in. This should be the midpoint shift. The halfway point where the story is reoriented and the stakes are raised, making the audience even further invested in the character's journey. But this movie has no midpoint shift, because there's no real midpoint in the film, no moment where the stakes are raised. Instead, they just start low and stay low because Claire faces almost no challenges on her journey. She shows up to the Zazie show looking like I do after spending 5 minutes with my family. So, in other words, like she's been through hell. But she hasn't, really. Her melting down on Zazie's show should have been the all is lost moment, which is usually at the end of Act 2 and then results with a climax and a last-ditch effort to achieve the character's goals. But it can't be that because Claire has already achieved her goal. She made it to Zazie's, and everything was fine. And there's still 20 minutes left in the movie for some goddamn reason. Which is why the resolution feels so stale. I guess you could say that there kind of is an all is lost moment when Claire's family shows up and she decides not to forgive them. But because neither of them faced any real challenges to get to where they are, it feels hollow and forced. Because Claire is supposed to be on a hero's journey, but instead she's just a random woman experiencing a random series of events. This story could have worked. It could have been funny. It could have been good, if not great. I mean, there's great setups to everything. But this movie is not great. it feels like a script written by an amateur screenwriter. Me. It feels like a script written by me. I really think that part of the reason I was so frustrated with this movie is because it reminds me so much of my own work as a writer. If you didn't know, I'm an MFA screenwriting student, and I've actually written some screenplays that have achieved recognition in national screenplay writing competitions. I've made it to quarterfinals, I've made it to semifinals, but I've never made it to finals, and I've never won. I've always gotten high marks for my dialogue and characters. They feel like fully developed people. But I've always been told that my stories fail because the plots feel like they're happening to the characters rather than as a result of their choices. My scripts didn't feel like a true journey, just a random series of events, like this one. Now, I've been spending the better part of 6 years working on one script, and it was really feeling more and more frustrating because I couldn't figure out what was wrong with the plots and how to fix them, because to me, it seemed like they were on a hero's journey, facing obstacles that they overcame. But after seeing this movie, it honestly finally clicked for me how and why my own work was failing, because now I could see it from the other side, from the audience perspective with fresh eyes. And that made it so much more infuriating. I have seen a lot of bad movies in my time, and few of them have ever irritated me with how bad they were. You know, aside from Sia's movie Music, which was a bad film for a whole myriad of reasons, some of which led to Sia herself indirectly sicking her fans on me personally, which was an experience. But Oh What Fun is one of the few movies I've seen that actually infuriated me, not because it was bad. I mean, it's not the worst. It was honestly okay. But it irritated me so much because it had the potential to be something great. Something really funny and emotional and poignant. But instead, it's just mediocre. I don't want to finish this video by disparaging the screenwriter of the movie. I mean, it looks from her IMDb page like this is actually her first project ever, and while it definitely shows, I also want to highlight that because it's her first project ever. For some people, their first projects are like insanely mind-blowing. Some people are just born absolute geniuses. And maybe Chandler Baker wasn't born an absolute genius screenwriter, but she did still make something that was way better than so many others have made on their first tryout. This wasn't something that was trying hard to be edgy. It wasn't super pretentious like every film I've ever seen from every film bro in my goddamn classes. Please stop making scripts about men having sex with sandwiches. Yes, that's a real one I had to read. I'm not even joking. I wish that was a joke. If I could drink enough alcohol to forget that I read that, I would have so much better of a life. This movie was trying to be something good, something that is relatable to so many people. Whether you're a child, like, of an overbearing mother, or whether or not you're an overworked mother herself. And with how much potential it had, and Chandler Baker now having a film under her belt, it'll be that much easier for her to make something great in the future, and I really hope she keeps going so that I can see that someday. And hell, maybe one day I'll make something that's big and just fine, and she'll say the same thing to me. But until then, we can all go back to our other Christmas movies and Christmas traditions. You may be sitting down with your family, enjoying a warm fire, and mine will probably just be still eating Chinese food and drinking Santa's butthole. Merry Christmas, everyone.